Hey, Scott from MyGrowthRings.com here. Here happens to be in my garage where I continue to tinker with this new to me Shopsmith Mark V Model 520. I've been posting 2 videos a week over the last several weeks. On the weekend, a new topic. In midweek, kind of a follow-up on all the things that I screwed up over the weekend. But this is an unscheduled video because I was just watching James Hamilton, also known as Stumpy Nubs, talking about the use of saw guards and how there's this odd machismo in our culture that seems to think that it's unmanly to use guards. And I thought, I got to do a video because anytime I can, I use my guards. There are some cuts, if a saw blade or dado blade is not going all the way through the material, you can't use your upper saw guard. But if I'm cutting something off, I'm always using the guard. Now, it's funny, I've already done 2 videos on safety, one on the 5-piece Shopsmith safety kit and one on the 5-point safety check, the check that I do every single time I set this machine up and get ready to hit the power switch. But I kind of brush past the saw guard. So I want to show you how I install it, give you a tip on how to get the most from either your shop vac or your dust collector, and show you how easy this thing is to use. Now, normally you'll find that I store my blade and my saw arbor right in the lower saw guard. It protects them, and I'm going to bring them up here at the same time anyway. What I want to do is I want to rotate the quill until that flat surface, which aligns with that set screw right there, is facing up. And then I'm going to slip the lower saw guard and the saw arbor on, and aligning that groove that's in the lower saw guard up with this raised ridge in the headstock casting, that tends to align this really nicely. Now you'll notice if I push this part of the guard down, that over here there is a clamp. That clamp right there, that jaw, is what's going to hold our splitter in place once we lower the table on top of the guard. Now, one other thing to note at this point, with the saw guard here for the Mark V Model 505, 510, 520, I can open or close this lower dust chute. You want to be sure you close it before you lower the table. But if you are operating with a dust collector, once the table's in place, open that as far as it'll go, and then tighten the 2 knurled knobs that lock it in place. If you're running a shop vacuum, close it as tight as it'll go, and then tighten it up. The dust collector works based on air volume, so the more space we give it to suck in air, the better it's going to collect the dust. Now we'll slide our carriage over and lower the table down on top of the blade. And I'm going to go ahead and go all the way down so maybe you stand a chance of seeing that little jaw there that I'm going to be sticking the splitter into. Again, the splitter goes right there. I'm going to push that down as far as it'll go, and then reaching under the table, I'm tightening that big wing nut to lock that firmly in place. Let's see that from another angle. So with the table now lowered over the blade, I'm going to stick this down through the slot and into the little jaws below. You'll notice that this is very close to the blade. That's why it's called a riving knife and not just a splitter. I'm reaching under the table and locking that lock. Now I want you to see something really interesting here. Because that is all mounted on the quill, you'll notice I can move the blade, and along with it goes the riving knife, and everything stays in perfect alignment. What if they aren't aligned? That's a great question. This is a one-time adjustment. Let's take a look at what we need to do to align it. Now you may have noticed when I slid the guard on, there's actually a little bit of a gap between this lower guard and the quill. Can you see that? There's actually a gap between that ring. There's a rubber bumper, and there's a ring right there. That is because at some point that splitter was brought into alignment with the blade. Let's take a look at that. You'll notice here there is a screw that we can adjust in or out. And depending upon where that is positioned, that will push the riving knife either to the left or the right. So you install your blade on your arbor, get everything in place like this, lock your arbor in place, and then without a table on, I'll just lower this down and stick my upper saw guard in and lock it. Now with that, I can eyeball and I can tell whether or not that riving knife is aligned with the blade. If it's not, if I need to move it to the right, I need to back that bolt out. That'll push everything to the right. If I need to move it to the left, I'm going to run that bolt in. That'll push the lower saw guard and the riving knife to the left. Very, very simple one-time ever adjustment. All right, let's just address once and for all this whole BS about, oh, it takes so long to change over, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to go from the drill press here back to the table saw, and we're going to install the saw guards on it, and you see how long this takes. I am not in a rush, and let's just do it. So I'm going to lower everything down, lock it in place, because I was told to do that. Let's take our table, lay that back flat. I'm going to take off the drill chuck, put that down here. Let's put on the lower guard and the blade. Lock those in place. Table goes up, and if you hadn't noticed, I'm missing the handle on my height adjustment wheel here. So I'm having to turn it like a captain turning a ship's wheel. Lower saw guard, upper saw guard. Ready to go. How long did that take? I am now safely ready to use my table saw. So years ago, it might have been a fair criticism that the guards introduced for table saws were really there to protect the manufacturers from liability. As these guards have improved over the years, they really were made to protect us. They're all easier to install and use than ever before. Take your guard off the wall and use it, and keep your fingers. All right, that's it. Hey, got another video coming out in a day or two, so keep an eye out for that, and make it a great day.